Hey everybody, welcome to 10 Minutes on Brand. I'm Will Straughn, Chief Growth Officer here at Focus Lab, and I'm thrilled to have Bill Kenney, Chief Creative Officer, on the call again. What's up, Bill?
Hello, everybody.
So on this episode of 10 Minutes on Brand, we're going to be talking about how brand influences internal company culture. It's a topic that's been coming up a lot in a few blog posts and a few conversations that we've seen on LinkedIn. So we thought, why don't we go ahead and throw our voice into that? So Bill, let's jump right into it. So I know you and I and everyone at Focus Lab has a strong belief that brand is more than just visual. It's more than just a logo. But how do you think brand influences internal culture?
So the thing here is, when we go through a rebrand exercise or a company hires us, I think they are often looking through a single lens, which is not necessarily bad, but that lens is, how do we appeal to our customers better? How do we reposition ourselves? We have a new vision of the future and we want to align to that vision. The old us is legacy at this point. But what can be overlooked, and what we're going to try to do here today, is say, don't overlook the value that a brand, your brand, and then the resulting rebrand brings to the internal culture. It has such an influential part on team member buy-in, team member passion, alignment, clarity, purpose. Like, those are all things that you need to have within your culture internally in the organization. And a rebrand helps to redefine and shape that. So this is not just hey, I got a new logo. Everyone thinks it looks sharp. Now they buy our service, right? Like, brand is going to capture so many other things. And, some of our partners recognize that, and they actually come to us with that as part of their goal, as right? They'll say, we ask them, what are your goals with the rebrand? Some of them will flat out say internal culture, which then would lead to better recruitment in those types of things.
It's starting to become more clear that a lot of people that we work with, the cultural impacts of the rebrand is almost as important as the impacts that it'll have on their customers and their future prospects. Because if they don't get internal buy-in and their employees aren't bought into their brand's purpose, then you better believe they're not going to be strong evangelists for that brand, right? And no one wants people working for a company, and especially at the internal culture, if they're not bought into what they're doing, because they're not going to be great employees. They're going to bring a lot of negative sentiment to the team, and that's infectious. So sometimes going through a rebrand allows you to kind of narrow the focus and hone it. A lot of companies that go through rebrands, they do it because their company has transformed. It's not the company that it was when they created the identity or the brand that they have now. And sometimes that can be a massive transformation for their employees. I mean, I know we've seen that happen with tons of our customers. And then also with recruitment. Recruitment is so huge nowadays. It's like the fight for talent is never been stronger, and it's only going to get more competitive, right? Because everyone wants the best. So another way is to prove that you've got a company culture and a strong brand that makes people excited to show up to work, right? And it makes them want to come in, and then that will influence your recruits. It's like, I know Dave Ramsey, we went to the EntreLeadership Conference in San Diego a few years ago, and he always talks about, this is not a reference I use, but it's one he throws around all the time. He talks about people as like stallions and donkeys. Again, not my reference, one that he loves, but it's like, A players want to be around other A players, right? They don't want to feel like they're picking up the slack. And if you've got a strong internal brand driven culture, people that like talk about core values and like just they walk and they live that life, it has such an influence on productivity, engagement, and then like that goes through to your customers, right? Then you've got these customers that are interacting with people that love your brand so much, that work for you, that they're like, man, whatever they're doing is the right thing. Because every time I interact with them and every interaction I have with their product is just like on another level.
And there's so many fantastic examples of that as far as companies. So it's like, I think the easy way, and you have to use the big names because it's relatable to everybody, but say we are going out into the workforce and we have the choice between working for Nike or Skechers, right? You're like, like, your first read on that is like, I want to go to Nike. That's before you even realize like, well, how much are they going to pay me? And like, what's the work environment like? Like
Yeah.
you're attracted to the brand because you relate
Right.
to it. Right.
Yeah.
So, just to prove the point again, that like branding, rebranding has so much of a pull to your internal culture. It's not just a pure ROI revenue driver. It actually starts earlier than that. Recruitment, team members, which leads to better outcomes, which leads to better product, which leads to ROI. Long tail.
Yeah. And I think there's sometimes at these really cool companies that have really great culture, their employees will kind of transform and help mold that brand too. So it's not the responsibility of like a rebrand to do it all, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So employees are going to take it and they're going to mold it. And that's important, to give this like internal culture the freedom to kind of like live and experience a new brand if you create one, like using Slack emojis and using the brand's name as like verbs and like labeling each other,
Yeah.
giving like departments the ability to like modify something that would never go to the outside world. Like with our work for Marketo, we would never like say, hey, your one department took your mark and put their spin on it. That should never go to the outside world, but that's awesome for like exclusive swag for like certain departments where they get to adapt the brand to their kind of their own departments, the things that they do. And it kind of gives them some ownability to it. So it's like, it's also kind of like you have to give your team the freedom and a little bit of brand flexibility within their departments too.
Yeah, it's kind of like ownership. You want them to feel ownership over it. The brand should be that intentional, and it should have that much story and purpose driven into it that people want to own it. And I think that's the difference. So when people join an organization, I feel like quickly gone are the days of, hey, we've got a ping pong table and our fridge is stocked, right? Like that's a commodity now. It's like, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's table stakes.
Yeah, but why who cares about that? How are you different? Right. So then you start to get to, what does the brand represent? What does it stand for? And really like the new up and coming generations, they really care about that, as they should, right? Like, are you actually working for a purpose that I can get behind? Great. I don't need to be wooed by the ping pong table. I actually want to work for the purpose. So therein lies the problem, where some people come to us for a rebrand and they say, we kind of know what our purpose is, but it's kind of shifting, or it has shifted a lot in the past 20 years when we went from 2 team members to 300 team members. We know where we're going, but our brand visuals, our brand language, that doesn't align to that anymore. So they might actually have a fantastic purpose internally, but how are they going to recruit to that? Because externally, it's just not seen or known. Right. So then when you're rebranding, that language starts to come out now. Now people can actually see the real you, and they're like, wow, that's the organization I really want to join.
I know we've had a lot of customers, and I've seen a lot of people throw this question at you, especially when we're ideating through a branding project, but it's like, how do we make our brand timeless? And I think the internal side of the brand is a huge factor that would, like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. So meaning, if it's not bought into internally and absorbed, therefore it's just not going to be timeless.
Yeah. Like they'll never put the energy behind it to make it a timeless brand.
Yeah. And that's another, like, you have these conversations and I think timeless is often thought of as simple logo.
Right.
That now the brand is timeless because the logo is not trendy and therefore won't date. But as we will continue to preach for decades from now, which is, brand is not a logo. Brand is the purpose and the feeling and the vision and all of those things behind the organization. So to become timeless, it kind of gets into the strategy, but to make sure that, like, are you going in a direction that is fruitful and timeless? Or are you going after things that are not relevant anymore? Yeah. But you want the team to be adopted into that. Everyone holding the flag, right? You want everyone holding the flag proudly, and that will definitely add for a lot more longevity.
All right, Bill, well, we are at the end of our 10 minutes. I feel like this is a topic that we could probably talk about all day and take it down a multitude of directions. But thank you to everyone for watching. Please leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If there's any questions you have or other topics you'd like us to cover in an upcoming 10 minutes on brand, you can get all of our information in the video description. We look forward to hearing from you all, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.